This happened on January 2nd of 1996.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things you didn't expect to happen, but I'm glad it did. I'd moved back to my hometown of Denver, Colorado, and never had a chance to sled with my son, who was 9 years old at the time.
You have wonderful snow in Denver, right?
That's right. And I used to live right across from a golf course. It had a beautiful hill that was just perfect. It was safe. You weren't out on the street. Very safe for sledding. And so we went there sledding, and it was very cold that day, about 5 below zero. But it had snowed the night before. It was beautiful, and it was we had a great time. But near the end, some of the kids would shout, "Why don't you try one more time, when we were ready to go?" And my son was also encouraging me one more time, the best run. So I tried one more time, and I guess I didn't look close enough on the hill how it was laid, and I went over like the storage shed, and I went about 20 feet in the air, and then I landed the middle of my back, and found myself at that time completely paralyzed. I could not move. And it's like in my heart I heard a voice saying, well, I finally got your attention.
And so that felt like almost like a voice from God, in a sense.
Yes, I took it for a voice for God, or the God within me. You know, when you were young, you wanted to do something for the world, not waste your life. Do something for humanity in some kind of capacity. And but you haven't done much yet.
What were you doing at the time in your life when that accident happened?
My profession at that time was light rail train operator. I graduated from a bus driver for the Denver Regional Transportation. And I got that job because I moved back home. I spent about 12 years in like missionary work. And because I started a family and had young children, I needed a steady income.
Yeah.
And at that time, that was the best job I can get. And actually, I didn't like it.
You weren't happy.
It was very miserable. I felt I was those tracks on the light rail train. All they needed to do is dig between them, put my body in there, and that would be my life.
You imagine the rest of your life
already.
Riding that train.
Yes.
And so how many years had you been between being a bus driver and light train rail operator?
About 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. And so also I felt in my heart, say, there's going to be a special opportunity this year if you choose to try and do something more exciting with your life and maybe help somebody in the process.
And so that was also while you were lying there in the snow.
Yeah. Remember, I told you it was very cold, but I felt all of a sudden very warm. And it would have been very cloudy, but I felt like a bright light around me. So I was at peace, even though my back was in very much pain.
Yeah.
And I couldn't move. And so, but it made such a
So for you, it was much more than just an accident snow sledding. This was actually God trying to reach out to you.
Reminding me that we all are mortal. That we all at some time at the end of our life, you know, we're going to face what did we do with the precious moments that we had on earth.
Yeah.
So it's one of those times that I can easily reflect. And so the message sort of seemed to say something this year is going to happen. Be ready for it, and if you decide to do it, it'll probably be good for you. So I prepared for something, and then...
so you knew something was coming, and were you able to... I mean, how difficult was it for you to recover from the sledding accident?
Well, it took a lot of great will, because my son was only 9 years old, and I just thought, well, what a terrible... experience that'd be for him if his father just died right here. And we were new to the neighborhood. He probably didn't know how to get home. We were far enough home he didn't know how to get home or how to, you know.
So that was your most immediate concern, lying there in the snow.
So I decided, well, since there's going to be some life in me, I'm going to will myself to walk back to the car and, you know, so my son wouldn't be embarrassed with having the police come or something like that, and I mean the ambulance or that kind of stuff. So I made it somehow back to the car after a slow walk, a determined walk. It wasn't easy, and eventually I went to a chiropractor, and it gradually healed. I had to take a few days off from work, but after about 3 or 4 days, I got better.
Okay, so then a few months later, something did come to you.
Yes.
Which this incident had prepared you for.
That's
essentially.
Right. It was about 7 months later. I received a mail from the Women's Federation for World Peace at that time, and they were making a new dispensation, trying to have a representative of every country in the world to try and serve mankind through this peace movement. And that's what I originally wanted to do when I was young. I wanted to better mankind somehow. I wanted it to be a better place when I left and help somebody along the way to make their life easier. So I knew this was it as soon as I saw the letter. Other people that had been with the movement for a long time, actually I thought they're much more qualified than me, they chose not to do it. But I felt a calling, so
this meant going to another country and essentially living there and sacrificing,
trying to find a way to serve. And it was good because the country that I was given was Afghanistan, which for me, I like to serve something that's not so easy. It's easy to serve those people who have the same beliefs and understand as you are, but or your friends. But somebody you don't know, foreign country, different language, that's more dramatic.
Yeah, well, I think all of us would agree that for an American to go to Afghanistan, it's a tremendous challenge involved in that.
And the thought even came to me in the process of selecting countries. Probably Afghanistan's the country just naturally I'd least like to go to.
Right.
Because it is having so many difficulties and had for quite some time.
Yeah, and so that's the one you got.
Yeah, so...
and this was even before the war in the September 11th. And
this is a good 4 years before 9/11. Yeah.
So it's even become more dramatic since you were assigned to that country.
It made me realize you better watch out what you pray for, because sometimes I pray for things that have happened, and I'm not sure if it's such a good idea. But many good things happen too. Yeah. Interesting.
So tell us about your experiences the first time you traveled to Afghanistan.
Okay, I first went to India because already the Women's Federation had been established there in New Delhi, and there was 50,000 Afghanistans. And at the time, as we all know now, the Taliban were in a civil war with Mr. Rabini, who was the elected president of Afghanistan. So there's a lot of conflict, a civil war going on in Afghanistan. So there was many Afghanistan refugees from the communist days and after that were living in New Delhi. So there was some base with Afghanistan people there. And then from there I went to Peshawar, Pakistan, and was intending to go to Afghanistan at that time. I had a visa to go, but when I got near the border, I was stopped by the Pakistani Police.
They wouldn't let you cross.
They said there was some difficulties, and you had to have a special visa beyond your normal visa in order to cross the border at that time. So I couldn't make it, but I had a chance the first time to go visit some of the Afghani refugee camps that were in Peshawar. And ever since 1979, I guess, since the Soviet invasion, there's been millions of refugees in Pakistan from Afghanistan. And unfortunately, they have not had good conditions. It was like living in a tent or a little mud house, many times without any roof over your head.
And this is for years at a time.
20 years. So a whole generation of young people, basically they had no chance for an education at all. So, and there was many graveyards there. Probably more people were dead in the graveyard than were still living in these refugee camps.